Two encounters, decades apart. One, a viral video. The other, buried in a shoebox since 9/11. We've got the footage. Now hear their stories. You be the judge. When we posted Mark's video in July 2025, we had no idea it would cause such controversy. But the debate in the comments was immediate. Many of you were sure it was a Sasquatch. Others were certain it was a bear. It's time to hear Mark's story in his own words and reevaluate the footage in its full context. I'd been trying to get back into hiking all summer. Working remotely had turned my days into a blur of screens, so every weekend I'd open a map, pick a green patch, and drive until the pavement ended. That Saturday, I wound up about 30 miles south of Ashland, in the vicinity of Porcupine Lake Wilderness. The road became dirt and finally narrowed until it looked more like a logging spur than a road. The sign said the name of a trail, but it wasn't one of the groomed hiking trails or even an ATV route, more like an old hunting path that hasn't been maintained. I parked at the turnout, texted my buddy Nate that I'd be out of range for a while, and started walking. About 20 minutes in, I noticed how few critters were around. Birds were chirping far away, but that was it. Just a wet leaf smell and that thick Northwoods hum of mosquitoes. I'd been following a narrow game trail that wound downhill toward a creek when I heard a sharp crack, maybe 30 yards off to my right. Heavy steps, too heavy for a deer. That's when I saw movement. A dark figure, low to the ground, sliding between the trees, only about 20 feet away. I couldn't make out clearly what it was. It was just the top of something large, a shoulder maybe, moving behind a clump of birch. At first, I thought it was a bear. I'd never seen a black bear from this close before, only from a distance. Forgetting for a moment how exposed I was out there, curiosity and adrenaline beat out common sense, and I pulled out my phone to get it on video. I was sure I'd catch a glimpse and then head back to the truck, having earned lifelong bragging rights about my lucky wildlife shot. At first I lost sight of it, but when I finally spotted it again, it was crouched behind a tree, doing something with its hands or claws, I couldn't tell. I thought maybe it was eating something. That's when I saw how long its arms were. Before I could make any sense of what I was seeing, it stood up and turned its head towards me. That's when the world dropped out from under me. It wasn't the face of a bear. For a split second, that felt like forever, we locked eyes. Then it lunged at me.
Where'd it go? Oh, there. Look at that. What the heck is that?
My stomach leapt into my throat. I don't remember stopping the recording. It probably happened on accident. I just remember my heart pounding in my head and branches scraping my arms as I ran. I could hear it behind me, crashing through brush like it didn't care what it trampled. I'd never run that fast in my life. I kept expecting a weight to slam into my back. Somewhere near the creek, I slipped and went down hard on my shoulder, but quickly wriggled into a thicket of alder lying flat. The crashing stopped, but I could hear a low, wet breathing sound just beyond the brush. I could smell it, like rancid, damp fur and burning tires. It didn't find me. Maybe it lost interest, or maybe it couldn't see me through the leaves. After a minute that felt like 10, I heard it moving away, uphill. I stayed there as long as I could until the mosquitoes drove me insane. Then I hiked out using the creek as a guide, looping wide so I wouldn't pass the same spot again. I didn't tell anyone that night. I just showered, sat on the edge of my bed, icing my shoulder, and replayed the footage over and over. The video cuts right before the chase. Lucky for me, maybe. I still can't believe how stupid I was in the first place. Even if it had actually been a bear, it was much too close to have let my guard down like that. I've only lived in Wisconsin for about 5 years, but I've heard all the dogman stories. Bigfoot, all that. I used to laugh about it too. I'm not claiming this was Bigfoot or Dogman. I don't know what it was, and I get it. In a vacuum, with only the footage, I would think it's a bear too. But I was there. I told that to Nate a few days later when I sent the footage, and he thought I'd staged it. Said it looked too good. That's when I realized no one was going to believe me. What a terrifying encounter, no matter what was chasing him. We heard from Mark a few weeks after the original video posted, and he was relieved to know that there are people out there who believe him, even with the footage alone. Now that you've heard the whole story behind the footage, what do you think? Do you believe him? If you're enjoying this episode so far, don't forget to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to Monster Myth. That way, you won't miss the next verified encounter we bring to light. The Trail Cam Casualty of 9/11. Travis is a conservation officer in the Cascade foothills, though he'd rather I not use his real name. What he encountered in those forests almost 25 years ago was enough to shake a man trained to see only facts. This is the story he's carried in silence, until now. I'll let him take it from here. I was a seasonal wildlife tech back in 2001, one of those jobs that paid in campfire coffee and blistered hands. We were running trail cameras for elk and deer along a forgotten stretch of public land in the Cascades, where a logging road petered out into nothing. It was late summer, the week after Labor Day actually. I remember it clearly because of the auspicious timing, oblivious to how the country was about to change forever. Anyway, I had this camera, an early model trail unit. Nothing fancy at all, I mean, it was bulky, jury-rigged with duct tape and a rubber strap. About 20 yards off the road, a small clearing opened between the older surrounding growth, so I nailed the trail cam roughly to a Douglas fir. I mounted it there because that clearing cut like an open stage into the trees. Game traveled that way. The unit recorded short-triggered clips. We had intended to check it a week later, but then 9/11 happened, and everything got put on hold for a couple of weeks, just long enough for the elements to do their dirty work on our cheap and fragile technology. When I sat at my kitchen table and fed the card into my old laptop, the files were mostly corrupted, unreadable. Storms had been coming through, and I figured the card had simply taken a hit. By the end of a frustrating hour of failed programs and error messages, I was able to recover a few. This file, I nearly deleted. It's not a photo, it's a video file that just sticks, so I thought it was trash. Plus, it's so nondescript. Whatever's there just looks like a rock or something. But I did a double take on it after seeing this 4-second grainy clip. It's short and grainy enough that you'd be crazy not to be skeptical, but it is what it is. A large, hairy, upright figure, but it doesn't lumber like a bear. There's a human cadence to the step, but the proportions are obviously not human. There isn't a longer clip. I tried every recovery trick I knew. Also, I should mention, when I finally went back to the site to retrieve the camera itself, it was on the ground. The strap was torn and tucked under a root, and there was a clump of coarse, dark hair snagged between the nylon and metal. I put that hair in an envelope, but I never sent it to anybody. Considering what the country was going through in the aftermath of September 11th, it just felt silly to make any noise about it. Not to mention that I'm paid to be empirical, and a single unfounded claim can end a career in a small field office. At least it could have back in the day. Nowadays, I guess it's more of a free-for-all. Anyway, I burned the clip to a CD and put it in a shoebox with old wallet photos and mixtapes. I don't know what happened to the hair in the envelope. It probably got tossed accidentally early on. I was a skeptic by training. Seeing that 4 seconds didn't turn me into a believer overnight, but it nicked something. It made the straight lines of my certainties wobble, put it that way. I'm still a skeptic about most things, to be honest, but I'm quicker to embrace the possibility of gray area. Years later, clearing out the garage after my mother died, I found the shoebox and transferred the files to a flash drive. I'm not sharing it because I consider it proof of anything. I'm sharing it because, well, at this point, why the hell not? Whatever walked into that clearing deserves to finally be seen, and because freeing it from that shoebox felt like I was finally a bit freer too. So, what do you make of Travis's experience? The footage he recovered is brief, grainy, corrupted by rainwater, and vague enough to justify skepticism. That said, the clips are compelling and would be difficult to dismiss outright. In my opinion, what makes this footage particularly interesting is the context. A country distracted, a trail cam ripped down, a strap torn, a tuft of fur caught in the nylon. Those details, combined with Travis's reluctance to even share it, are what made this unique sighting worth a closer look from our team. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Until next time, stay safe out there, folks.